All right, I've begun our recording of the special meeting called to consider and vote on the proposed framework for release for March 6th at 10 a.m. So I'm calling the meeting to order. Quorum is 20, and we currently have 15 senators present. So we can't perform any actions, which includes approving the agenda until we meet quorum. Is that right, Miguel? Where are you, my friend? I know you came in the room.
I'm right here, but you can't hear me.
Oh, I can hear you now.
Oh, you can? Oh,
Now I
that's
can,
my
yeah.
microphone's not working.
We can hear you.
Okay.
I can call the
Yeah,
meeting to
you
order.
technically can't start the meeting until you have a quorum.
Right. Okay.
So we can have an informal discussion. We can have a chit chat.
There's 16 of us on this call right now, because remember there's two.
Oh, 16. Thank you. Thank you.
It's like the old Saturday Night Live coffee clatch there, with
Well, we're at 17 now.
We're at 17.
How are you getting 17?
Because Nicola has 2 people in her room. Do you see Rhonda in the background?
Yes.
Perfect. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Good morning, all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. We're getting there.
One more person. Who's going to give us 20?
I feel like we should cheer whenever the next person arrives.
We could sing.
Oh, that would
sing.
scare me.
18 right now.
I can log in again.
Funny.
And night.
Actually,
19.
in an office today, people. You'll never see me in an office.
Yay.
Who
Awesome.
was the 19th person? Does anybody know?
Or the 20th.
Santua?
Our 20th person.
Rhonda Charette, I'm here. And sounds like just maybe
What
20.
about we hit 20 and then it goes down to 19 again?
Well, we're at 20, and we're going to go. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order.
Okay.
And is there a motion to accept the agenda?
I'll make a motion, Sandy.
Motion to accept.
Sandy and Kirsten.
Second, yeah.
Thank you. Any objections to accept?
I only see 19.
2 people are in one office.
Yep. So Rhonda Charette and Nicola Ricker are together under Senator Nicola Ricker's banner. So just to be clear for the minutes and recording and all of that, there are 2 people under one name right now.
Thank you.
Nicola, if you put
Yes.
if you just put both of your names, like Senator Ricker and
Okay. Yep, I can do that. Give me 2 seconds and I will do that right
we don't
now.
have that as question, but it also shows up as record.
Okay, folks, we need to, are there any objections to accepting the agenda? Any objections? Hearing no objections, we have a consent agenda. Is there a motion related to the proposed framework?
I'd
Kristen?
like to make a motion.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
Go ahead,
I would
Kristen.
like to make a motion to approve the proposed framework as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Angelo.
Angela, there's a second. Any discussion? Asantwa.
Just given the numbers that we have here, and then also the person who had the main concern vocalized not being able to attend, given that they're faculty that we teach classes, I'm literally in the middle of my class and I came to attend. I think that we should hold this vote later, because that's my main contention, because the person who had the issue is not here to speak for themselves.
Thank you. Who's next? Bonnie.
You know what? I was just going to say the exact same thing. So thank you, Senator Dawson.
Okay. And Lisa.
While I agree, I also can oppose that idea because Senator Freeman has vocalized his concerns about it multiple times. So we are all well aware of it. We know the details of it, and I don't know if anyone else had agreed with that idea, with his thoughts, but I feel like we have enough information presented from both sides where we can make a decision.
Thank you. Alan.
Thanks. So I guess it's too bad that Seth isn't here, but why don't we, I think that we should talk about what the main concern is, right? His primary concern was with respect to a full release for the position of president. So we should talk about that. I think before just voting on it.
This is your opportunity to do that, Alan.
Yeah.
And we are trying, in the interest of time, we will have senators make only one statement. And then if there's time for a second, then we will return to that. But this is your opportunity.
I guess I have mixed feelings. I know that like you're doing a lot, attending all the committee meetings, spending time with administration. I know there's a lot of preparation for these meetings. So, I don't think there's any question that, as the president, are probably well exceeding what that full release would even be. But I guess some people have concerns about the optics of it, about a faculty or staff member. This is a unique thing. This is like, we're used to, a president of a college senate is like at Capitol or at Gateway or at Asnuntuck. Now we're talking about 12 campuses. So it's a huge difference. But I mean, that is a concern that some people have, is the optics of it. And I don't know exactly what to say about it. I'm not that concerned about it, but some people are.
Thank you. Peter.
Hi, yeah, so I guess to follow up on Senator Boyko and Senator Bellinger, I understand the concern. I do agree. I think we have all the information to actually make this vote today. Personally, I think it's been articulated. I don't think there's new information. From my standpoint, I don't have an issue with it. I really don't. I think it makes a lot of sense. I also don't think this is necessarily cast in stone for the next 10 years. The level of change that is going on now is unprecedented. And I just think it really does require a tremendous amount from whoever's leading this body. So again, certainly something to be revisited down the line, but I have no issue moving forward with this. So that's my thoughts.
Thank you. Kirsten. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Thank you. I second what Peter just voiced. I don't think that, it's perfect, but the proposal is fluid. And I think that it more accurately represents what we are doing real time. And we need to acknowledge that and support the efforts of the governance that's taking place. It is a lot of work. So thank you. And I would like to definitely move to vote on this today if possible.
Thank you. Sandra.
Al, I agree with both of them. And the thing that Peter said about this being fluid, we have a lot of work to do. And I know how important this is to all of us, but especially to you, because I see your passion. So I don't think we should wait on this to vote. And I do think in the future, if they feel that the president doesn't need a full-time release, well, then that'll be different. But right now, I feel that we need it.
Thank you. I just want to say that I don't think this is a reflection on me, folks. I hope it's not. I hope that this is a larger discussion. So I hope that is true. Bonnie?
You would think, I agree and I disagree in regards to having the vote today. Let's be clear on that. I think that we all want to have a voice, and yes, it was stipulated in his emails along with mine. I think there is concern in regards to anybody in that role going through what we're going to do, because this is not going to be just a 3-year term. We recognize very clearly that this is going to be a longer stint. And if we are saying that we're going to be fluid in this role, then that also needs to be depicted in the wording of how we're going to allow this precedent for a full-time release, whether it be faculty or staff, because there are those optics that Senator Ballinger indicated. There needs to be the terminology that also looks at that fluidity. Because again, I truly understand that although Maduko indicates that he is going to be accepting of our roles in these positions, the inequity still stands for many staff that may choose to do this role, goes to their supervisor, says, I'd like to do the role and this is what it takes, and be told no. So that's where I like to make sure that the wording that we're going to be using for this is very clear in its fluidity. And like Ellen and Thayer were discussing recently, I can't stand the word transparent. We've got to be clear in regards to the terminology that we're saying that this is going to be a precedent, and for how long.
So folks, I just want to point out that this is not for 3 years, that the term for all statewide elected offices is just one, just an important point of clarification.
Thank you. I meant by term.
Sarah.
I was just going to say, where do we feel that language of it being reevaluated at X number of years, where would that go? I'm just asking as bylaws, thinking, where does that go in terms, does it go in this document or does it go in the bylaws? Or is it part of like Jason Seabury's, review and assessment? Like, I'm just wondering, to Bonnie's point of like, I get it. And to be honest with you, as a senator, and right now things are picking up steam. Our subcommittees are picking up steam. We're spending, many of us are spending way more time than even this really can capture. Right. So I get it. In the next this year, next year, in the next 2-3 years, this is so much work, but it's good work. It's necessary work. It's necessary for us to meet like this, to do these extra hours, to prep in advance. Like, all of this takes time and preparation. But I'm just wondering and I recognize Senator Freeman's point of, that concern, and like others have mentioned as well, like, okay, so for then how long, where is that reevaluation, and where should that phrasing go? Is that in bylaws or is it in this document? I just wanted to pose a question.
So I need to point out that this document as written does reflect a review to return to it in spring of 2026. So that is built into this language. Jennifer.
Hi. Yeah, actually, I was picking up a little bit about what Sarah was just talking about and Bonnie. There were two concerns. One was I just wanted to ask a question about the return to review. That's linked to union contracts, or that's just the time period we picked up on?
It was,
or excuse me,
it was to get us through
fiscal budgets.
It was to get us through 2 years, because we just had 1 year behind us. So this was just looking forward at 2 years, hoping that we would stabilize by the time we got to that point. That was the reason that spring of 2026 was chosen. Is that what you were asking, Jennifer?
Yes, definitely. And then also to follow up on Sarah, because, when we're doing this, when we go to renew, that'll be at that juncture, it'll be that choice. If we keep a 2-year review for this.
Yes, ma'am.
It still has to be approved by Maduko and that level, right, for anything, us and then them.
That is a really important point, Jennifer, that this is only our recommendation. This does not mean that this is where we land. This is merely our recommendation.
Okay, yeah, and then I share Seth's concern about, I just know as a guided pathways advisor, during peak advising times, that 4 hours a week, that's my coworkers are gonna notice that as well as my caseload. So, if somebody from certain staff positions do step up for Senate President, I do think it might impact who is able to step up, but I think we've already talked about that a lot. So thank you.
Thank you. Nick, are you raising your hand or is Rhonda raising her? I don't know who to call on. You are. Okay.
Nicola, it's Nicola. I just want to, because I know that the chat feature is not captured in the recording. There are 23 people on this call now. I just want that to be part of the recording, and also what Sarah Perez put in the chat from the document. It says during spring 2026, Connecticut State Administration will review the recommended framework for release and propose any changes by March 1st of 2026. So I just wanted it captured in the recording that language is in the document that we are discussing. Thank you.
And it's important to articulate the things in the chat, folks, just so you know, because those aren't clear if you're only watching the video. Jennifer, is your hand up again or still? Okay. Miguel.
Yeah, so just to that last point regarding the language there, I think we need to tweak that to say Connecticut State Administration and the Senate, because it shouldn't be one-sided. It should be a review by both sides. Even though we can propose and administration approves, I think both sides should, and it should be explicit about that. So I would just suggest tweaking that. The staff point that's been raised by a couple of people. I think most, if not all of you know, there's been nobody who's beat the drum louder in terms of equity and equitability for staff than I. I think that, for example, for guided pathway advisors, you should have a reduced caseload. If you have a 3-credit release, then you should have 20% fewer students, period. And any supervisor who doesn't know that, you need to talk to the union and you need to talk to the dean and the CEO about that, because that's black letter law. It is approved by CT State. And if your supervisor's not agreeing to that, they're going to get in a world of trouble. So, from that perspective, in some ways, a full-time release for a staff member would be a lot easier, because now, quite simply, CT State would have to hire somebody to replace that person. Now, the problem is, what if they don't? What if there is, particularly at a smaller campus, what if you are the only person in your office, or you are the only CCP and you have a part-time EA or an admin or whatever it might be, and they're unwilling to hire somebody and you're elected as president of the Senate. Now who's going to be the financial aid person or the admissions director or the registrar or veterans coordinator, or whatever it might be? That's speculating, but those are scenarios that I think have to be considered. I'll be frank, and I struggle, and I'm going to be very careful with my wording. I struggle with the concept of a full-time release for the position of president. I do struggle with that. Specific to UL, I do not question the time that you are putting in, nor do I question your integrity and how much you've done. And as you said, and I'm glad you feel this way, that this is not directed at you. This is a matter of the office and the institution of the presidency. I think there is an optics issue where you have, a full-time release. I think it's an optics issue. I am conflicted. I'm struggling with this. I'm appreciating the discussion. I think it's an important discussion, and I think it's a discussion that needs to be had. So I think I'm going to stop there for now. Thank you.
John?
I'm hearing a lot of folks talk about optics, and I'm thinking about that. As we've already had, numerous conversations on the executive team about this process and different ways we might be able to work around that. And I have two thoughts that might relate to optics. The first being, as we all take release, right, we know that we have multiple options. We have release, we have comp time, and we have compensation. And those don't need to be exclusively divided. I could see that in some instances, if a staff person wanted to continue to do part of their job and take part of their release as compensation, they could continue to do that. And the optics in a situation like that would allow for people to still see them doing their jobs. You know, faculty maybe still teaching some classes. It doesn't need to be an exclusive abandonment of all their duties that they were hired for, just because the option is there for full release. I think it makes it a little bit more flexible. You know, I think about my particular role at the Entrepreneurial Center. You know, I might continue to do my administrative things and continue to take, you know, partnership meetings, but not be doing all the marketing for the events and, you know, maybe, you know, farming out just some of the work that we do for, you know, booking spaces to, you know, a third party. So there's ways that we can handle that, and that's kind of up to the individual senator. The second issue on optics is just as we look to the future, and I appreciate people recognizing the work that Elle is currently doing, but when we look to that second or third president, and maybe we see, hey, listen, this person is taking full release and Senate work is not getting done, or there's an issue with, you know, somebody just not showing up to all the meetings, not filling up their schedule, actually pushing and promoting the Senate and its interests. And that's an issue that our body has to deal with, because we would have to do that with any senator. So if people look at the Senate president and the work that they're doing and say, I don't see why it matters or what they're doing matters because we can't see the growth in the Senate or the representation, that's the responsibility of all of us as senators to be able to hold that president to account, which is fortunately something we haven't had to do, and I don't anticipate that we'll have to do with our current president, but might be one of the reasons behind the concerns for optics, you know, for future presidents.
So seeing no more hands, I do want to speak to some of the issues that were raised, and I'm going to lean heavily into what John just said about putting together the release that best fits the needs of the individual serving. I think that is important, and we built that flexibility. We did that together. This proposed framework really does represent the contributions of every person who took the time to either send what they were doing or share the number of hours. Shortly after we sent this document, a number of people reached out to say, I just calculated my hours, and this really does reflect the work that I am doing. So that confirmed that we were on the right track. As for the optics, I actually think this is an opportunity for CT State to demonstrate their commitment to shared governance. It is a lot of work right now. I see it being a lot of work as long as we are in the process of stabilizing. We are, what are we, the sixth largest two-year degree granting institution in the United States. We're the largest in New England. To compare us to the loose coalition or confederation of 12 colleges that we used to be really fails to recognize the complexity of the changes that we are trying to navigate. So with that, if there are no further comments, we're going to move to voting. Miguel?
Yeah, Elle, I just wanted to propose an amendment to the language just regarding the language in the chat that Sarah wrote regarding the review, to add and CT State Senate. So
that's to that last line during spring 2026, CT State Administration and Senate will review.
Yeah. Yeah, and let's be explicit. The CT State Senate, just to be explicit.
State Senate.
There are multiple senates.
Thank you. CT State Senate. And who made this motion?
I'm making the motion.
So,
no, we have a motion.
I made the original.
Oh, sorry.
Is that a friendly amendment? Are you willing to accept that friendly amendment?
Yes, I am.
And Sandy, I think you were no, Angelo. Angelo, you were our second for that. Are you willing to accept the friendly amendment?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, that was a
Oh,
mistake.
All right, all those in favor? All those in favor, please raise your hand. And John, as we are counting, please remember, we see Rhonda and Nick have both have their hands raised. Thank you, Rhonda. Raise it nice and high. Thank you.
Al, I'm sorry, what are we voting on right now?
We are voting to accept the proposal as amended.
The main motion. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Still adjusting.
And just so the recording has it, we have 23 senators in the room. We have 23 people. Quorum was 20.
So I have 22.
22 in favor.
Plus
Thank
one,
you.
plus one. Great.
Oh.
Oh, no, never mind. Sorry, I missed. No, John is
Twen-
correct. I'm gonna be
22 in favor. Thank you, folks. Everyone lower your hand. Everyone lower your hand. And all those opposed? Opposed? No opposition. Any abstentions? Any abstentions?
I have one.
Okay, one abstention. The motion carries. The motion carries. Folks, I really thank you for your deep thoughtfulness as we move forward with this proposal. This is just one of our hurdles. We will send this along to President Maduco, and once we have an answer, we will share that with you. If there are no further motions from the floor, seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
I move. John Fiorella.
Second.
John, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
You can vote with your departure.
Oh, we gotta go.
Bye, folks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good